Welcome to the 56th reading of my memoir, The Innocence of Guilt. Curling Cottage. I managed a weekend home before moving into the new cottage, and as Brian also went home before Christmas for the holiday and New Year's break, we spent much of the time together. A small black and white television set, newly rented by David for Mum, proudly sat in one corner of the living room at my parents' place. Dad refused to pay for it because he said the wireless was good enough for him. I became absorbed in a program from Great Ormond Street, the world-famous sick children's hospital. Carols sung on the wards, a huge Christmas tree, piles and piles of gifts, and loving nurses gazing devotedly at the sick children. I wanted to inject myself into the screen and join them. Brian declared his love for me face to face for the first time on the train platform in Colchester as I left for London to spend Christmas without him, hopefully for a happier working life. To tear myself out of his arms and board the train, taking me away from him, was so difficult. More and more I grew to despise those train journeys. I leaned out of the window until I could see him no more, then slumped onto the carriage seat. The time by myself seemed interminable. A heaviness settled over me, dark and brooding. I tried to read, but mostly I dozed, only aware of the jolting of the train as it stopped at one of the many stations along the line. In part of a letter to me after Christmas, Brian wrote, "I paid your Ma and Pa 2 visits before Christmas. On Christmas Eve, I told your Ma that I had heard from you. She very nearly burst into tears and fought them back as she said you had not even dropped a card to say you had arrived safely. I had been so busy that I had written to him, assuming he would tell my parents I was okay. I hope that you did write to them before Christmas. Believe me, Jenny, your Mum and Dad love you very much." Brian didn't know how those words threw me into guilt and confusion. At home, I hadn't been close to my parents at all. I only enjoyed myself with Brian. In a letter to him after New Year's Eve, I said I wasn't that bothered about going home anymore, although I still would whenever I had some time off, and would he please not mention it to my parents, as I didn't wish to hurt them. Did I believe my parents loved me, that my mother shed tears over me? I preferred to tell all I met that they were for the most part cold towards me. Easier to cast them aside than to accept my part in the remoteness of our relationship. Curling Cottage was run by an unmarried house mother who went by the name of Auntie Maud. Most children at Bernardo's were under no illusions regarding uncle or auntie titles. They knew they were in care, sometimes traumatically torn from their mother's arms, screaming and protesting. The cottage of 11 boys, ages 2 to 16, would have been overwhelming, except for the other assistant, Rosemary, who took me under her wing immediately. Delivered from the horrible atmosphere of next door, I enjoyed Christmas. Sitting around the huge dining table with my new family, I tried not to dwell on the painful past weeks. Rosemary and I immediately connected, shutting ourselves in her room after lights out and talking non-stop about boys, but she shocked me by giving in her notice after I'd been there 1 month. Her reasons? The older boys all developed crushes on me, and they didn't need her anymore. They did have crushes on me, but I didn't encourage them and would have done anything to keep her. My special charge was Raymond, a cute, sensitive 2-year-old with brown skin and soft curly brown hair. My heart went out to him. Raymond flourished under my care because we shared a special bond. At bedtime I read to him and sung him songs. Although the rules strictly forbade taking a child into your bed, if Raymond cried out due to bad dreams, I let him snuggle up to me. In the morning, before Auntie Maud woke up, I sneaked him back into his own bed in the large dorm. I loved little Raymond as much as any mother loves her child. While I thought of his interests, I momentarily forgot my own troubles. But Raymond had a real mother out there in the world beyond the village home. He saw her on occasional weekend visits and always came back unwashed, hungry, and disoriented. It broke my heart to welcome him home, scoop him up in my arms, kiss him and comfort him, only to have it all happen again a few weeks later. He wanted a toy fire engine for Christmas, and so I bought him a shiny red metal one, the best I could afford. Over the Christmas period, his mother came to visit. She could barely get in the front door with his gift, a plastic fire engine so large it entirely blocked the hallway. The other boys clambered around, not letting him get anywhere near it. My little fire engine, perfect for pushing along the floor, was completely dwarfed and subsequently ignored in favor of the new monstrosity. I learnt a painful lesson as I realized I could never take the place of Raymond's mother and all she represented to him. Of course, I'd been advised to not let my emotions take over in caring for the children, but how did one love without total abandon? Rosemary left in mid-January, and I took her place as senior assistant. I inherited her room, more salubrious than mine, and decorated the walls with pictures of children from tribes in the Amazon rainforest. A beautiful green counterpane turned up in the laundry, and I claimed it for my bed. My room looked so attractive, I won an award for the best kept assistant's room in all the cottages. Thank you for listening. Please feel free to subscribe, like, or comment on this reading, and hopefully you will tune in to the next one. Bye for now.